Welcome to Spilling the Tea. I'm Tracey Buck, president of Esther Tea Company, and I'm super excited today to have Elizabeth Walker here with My Big Dream. I cannot wait for you to hear all the wonderful things that she's going to tell you about her organization, My Big Dream. So stay tuned as we get started and you hear all about the great things at My Big Dream. Hi, Beth.
Hey.
Welcome to Esther Tea's podcast, Spilling the Tea. I'm so grateful to have you here today.
I'm so blessed to be here. I'm so thankful. So thank you for having me.
It's fun. I think we should start with tea.
Okay.
You want to pour it?
Sure.
What kind did you choose?
This is the chai tea because I opened it and it smelled so beautiful. Oh, it's a beautiful color.
Isn't it so pretty? I'm going to move mine over here.
Okay. Sugar, sugar.
That's that Belgian.
Is that rock sugar?
Yes, it's so good, and it's made from.
Because there's two kinds in there. So there's like the beet, because you can tell because it's the color.
Oh, it's so good. I forgot your spoon.
It's okay.
Will you please hand us a spoon? Okay. So one of the things that I really wanted to talk about today is it was just so interesting when I decided to move back to New Bern. I prayed specifically that the Lord would surround me with female friends that were amazing and that were believers. And you were the first person that I met. And when I look back on that, I'm like, that was just a complete answer to prayer. And I just think back to those, how long ago? That's probably like a year and a half ago.
It was a year and a half ago. Well, it was the spring of 2000. I don't even know what year. COVID ruined time.
Yeah, it did. And it was right after COVID.
Right.
And we were coming out of COVID. And it was just so amazing that he put us in each other's lives. And I'm grateful, so grateful for that. And one of the things that we both had in common is that we had a dream. And today I really just wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about dreams. Start with telling us about your dreams.
Okay. So my dreams all kind of took a back burner for many, many years. Like what I wanted to be when I was 19 got shoved to the side. And right around 2017, 18, I was repiecing life together, or rather God really was. And we likened it to kind of a tapestry where it was pretty on the one side, but on the other side, it showed like all of this like mangled thread that was a mess. And it's kind of how life was feeling like on that side. But it was neat to see God putting pretty stuff together. And
I love that a tapestry.
Yeah.
That's the same. Our lives were parallel in that way. Mine was the same.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, keep going.
Oh, no. And I always had a dream, and I knew that God had to restore my voice first, and he was doing that in remarkable ways by putting people in my life that showed me that I could kind of speak up and find who God made me to be. And I've always wanted to work with the special needs population, and you put me in a room with them and I light up, and the shyness comes out of me and I sparkle, and they make me so happy. And there was a really amazing nonprofit in Texas that I visited, and now I've been like 7 times. And when I was there in 2019, right before COVID, I knew that this is what God wanted to do with my life. And I was frozen in a seat, like literally crying, like I can't leave. And then COVID hit. And so I was like stuck home alone a lot of times, like, okay, well, how's this supposed to look? And he gave me a lot of time to dream. And that's what I started doing. And it was like this uninhibited moment of like, I'm just going to paint this picture of this is how I want it to look. And God just kept giving me like these remarkable moments of like, this is what I want it to look like. And I would tell someone and they'd kind of like, okay, that's nice. That's kind of weird. And I was like, no, it's a beautiful dream. And so I started putting pen to paper and like talking about a business plan. No, I am definitely the dreamer. So I am not that business person. But I was working for an organization where we were helping people find work. And 90% of the people didn't want to work. And then I was having special needs people come in and they wanted to work and no one would let them work anywhere. Or it was a matter of like there were too many hurdles in the way. And so I knew like it was time. And I would try to step forward. And
how did you know? How did you know? Because that's the same exact thing for me, but how did you know it was time?
Because I would kind of like share that dream with somebody, and you would just see like this light bulb come on, or I would meet like a really beautiful like friend with Down syndrome, or like my autistic friend, and you could see that there was a need, and you would share with the mamas like, this is what we need. And then I would kind of run into like what I felt was like a hurdle or like a door closing. And I'd look at God again. I'd be like, okay, what's going on? Because you dropped this dream in my lap, and what's going on?
Right.
And he would send a confirmation again. And even if it was a silly little thing, but I really believe that like even if you hear the word like dream big on the radio, you could just think it's like a silly little like thing. But to me, I knew it was like God dropping it in.
Remember the mug I gave you?
Yes, and then you gave me the mug, and like people they'd be like, "Hey, I found this thing," and they'd drop it off, and it was just at right the time where I was like giving up again, like I can't do this, like I don't have the energy, I'm not the business person, how am I going to do this? And
all these negative things come into our minds, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the enemy really like working against us, but when there's a plan and a purpose, it's going to come to fruition if we just listen.
You're so right. and it has. So it's exciting to see it all coming together.
Okay, so keep going. Tell me. So how did you start?
Okay. So back in May of 2021, I had an informational meeting for parents. And I didn't know if there were going to be like 3 people showing up or what it was going to look like.
It was such an exciting day, wasn't it?
It was awesome. And we had, I think, a total of like 20 families show up. And I'd done a questionnaire and surveyed, and everyone said the same thing, like, where's my child going to work? Where's my child going to do this? They don't have a social life. If something happens to me tomorrow, where are they going to live? And so I was like, okay, it's confirmation. It's time to move forward. And so in June and July and August of last year, we just had gatherings, and we just had like, let's cook out, let's hang out, let's get to know each other. Because I think people didn't understand. A lot of times people will work with a special needs population because they have a child, so it kind of was their why. And people didn't understand my why. So I had to kind of let them get to know me to be like...
So they could trust you.
They could trust me.
I remember in the beginning there was a lot of like there felt like there was skepticism.
Yeah. There were people looking at me like, okay, but we've heard this before.
Well, I think I got the feeling that they had been disappointed. They had maybe had promises before from other people, but then it never came to fruition. Yeah. They didn't know who was coming their way.
Hi. Just kidding. So then in September, October, and November, we met once a week. We made these beautiful Christmas decorations. We had a pop-up shop at the very end of October of last year. And everything sold in an hour. And I don't even care like if we made $5 or $10 or $1,000. The pride on those kids' faces was beautiful. And I call them kids, but we call them friends because they're the friends.
So tell me about that. Why friends?
I think because, well, to me, they are my friends, but I want them to feel like when they come every week that they have that in each other. Mm. And you could coin different words with it, but to me, like, I'll call you, I'll be like, hi, special friend. Right. And it's just this beautiful word to me. Of like,
I love it. Like when you text me and you'll say, hey, friend. I'm like, I'm her friend.
It does. It just gives you that moment of.
It's warm.
It is.
It makes you feel important.
Yeah. And that's how because it all boils down to like Psalms 139, where I know that we're all knit together in our mother's wombs. So when you're born and your child has special needs, all of that changes because then you're like, okay, now my whole life's changed. What's it going to look like now? And so to hold on to that whole chapter of like, God knew what he was doing when he made them. And I really believe that my special friends, that my friends are the normal ones, and we're kind of, we need to learn from them.
Yes, because they're loving and kind and energetic and happy and joyful, like all the things that I think in real life we all are searching. They don't search; they just are. Mm-hmm. It's very humbling to see. Yeah. So, what is the big dream? What is the end goal? Like, where are you headed?
End goal. Well, we're going to have a workshop where they're going to be making all the different products. And I believe it's really, and I'll say it this way. So we have one girl that sat down last week and started coloring this ornament that we're making, and the detail that went into it, it was beautiful. And then we had another friend that it didn't work for him at all. And so it's going to be one of those neat things of finding all the different products that we make and what their niche is. And coming alongside them and sitting with them. And so the workshop will be there, and then we're going to have a cafe, and I'm in culinary school, so we're going to make all these amazing
Tell me about culinary school. Why culinary, and what is your vision with that?
Well, I have like all these hot mess food issues. So like if you're like, hey, let's go do lunch, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work because I'm allergic to everything. And I wanted to have a place where you could come and sit down and have lunch with me and have a piece of gluten-free cake and not be like my 13-year-old that's like, this sucks. I wanted it to be good. And so I started looking at everything, and life took some twists and turns this year. And my husband and I were having this heart-to-heart of like, well, you're not going back to work. What's that going to look like? You can't just sit home. He travels for work, or he works like 80-hour weeks. And he's like, you need something to do with your time. And so I like closed my eyes and pulled a Band-Aid off really fast, and I said, can I take all my money out of savings and go to culinary school? And he was like, we're not going to do that, but yes, you can go to school. And so we started looking at what schools I could go to, and the school that I'm going to has a plant-based program.
Oh, I love it.
It's beautiful. Like the foods that I've already made, like there's just joy in my kitchen.
I've been following you, and I'm like, oh, that looks so good. Like, was it like a butternut squash?
There was like carrot soup the first week.
Yum.
And then last week we made Mediterranean lentil soup and all these salads. And this week I'm just like, I can't start cooking till Wednesday or Thursday. I'm like, but I'm ready. So
I love that you found something that you're passionate about that you can tie into your dream.
Yeah. And so the reason that all ties in together, one, going back to like when I was 5, when you would ask me what I want to be when I grow up, I'd be like, I want to be a baker. And people would be like, okay, but what do you really want to be? And I'm like, like going into like a bakery is like my happy moment. Like those smells in the air, like, oh. So I want to have the workshop and the store where you can buy all of their things that they make, but then I want to have a cafe where they can cook their food. And if you study autism, there's a whole lot to be said for the gut and how the foods that we eat affect things. And so I want it to be a place where we can all eat, but it tastes good, but it's healthy. So I know that doesn't work in most times, but it's gonna.
I believe.
So, and so then I want to have housing and beautiful things.
Tell me about the housing part of it. I know, because I remember when we were planning this in the beginning that was your overall goal was. Tell us about that.
So, I mean, it's going to have to look different for every friend. There's going to have to be like group home settings where there's a house parent that can oversee and take care of them. But then I want like a tiny house village where it can be little tiny homes that the kids that can be more independent can be side by side.
Because that's really the goal, is to give them as much independence as you possibly can, right?
Yeah. But within the safe confines of my big dream, rather than going out and working out in the public where you don't know who's coming around. It's our safe space for them where you're going to come and have lunch and you're going to come see them and come shop in the store.
I love it.
Dreams. Coming real.
Dreams. And you know what's so interesting is, you know, going back to when you said you were 5 and you had a dream and to be a baker, and everybody was like, yeah, but what do you really want to dream? It's the same for me. You know what I mean? Like, I think society really like kind of pushes us to do what society thinks we should do. They define success for us. But the truth is, when you have a purpose and it's planted in our hearts, and I believe that purpose comes from God. And if we just would learn to be to be faithful and obedient to that calling, then just like we were talking about earlier, I asked you, I was like, well, if we get this out there, do you have the capacity to take in more friends? And you were like, God will provide. That's exactly how I feel about the tea. It's like, oh, we outgrew this lab. But then next door opened up and now we're outgrowing that. But I know that we'll find a way. Mm-hmm. We'll find a way, like that the Lord will provide so that we'll have enough space to keep making tea, because it's my purpose, just like this is your purpose. I'm so stinking proud of you. When I think back to sitting in coffee shops and just planning and writing out and just, I sat on your board for a brief time and I was just so blessed to be part of the beginning of it. And I'll never forget that day when you had the first parent meeting and we were in that church, and I was like blown away by the hope that those parents felt in that room. Mm-hmm. And just to see you and your element has just been a blessing to me to get to watch. And I just know without a shadow of a doubt that great things are ahead. So, okay, tell me about, what do you have now? Do you have, you guys, I know you started the cookbook, but you still have cookbooks?
We have the cookbook. And the way it works is we actually have it where you go online and buy it, rather than we have like a surplus of cookbooks sitting in a corner somewhere. Right. And then it ships directly to whoever's ordering it. Our website will be live in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
All of that's being worked on behind the scenes, because people ask me questions. I'm like, I don't know how to do that part.
Right.
But we got the official letter from the IRS, so we're officially a nonprofit. Got set up so that really gave us all this wiggle room to start working with Give Butters a platform for raising funds. And then even Facebook is now you can do a Facebook fundraiser. So it's neat to see that and getting our name out in the public. And I'm speaking at events, and that's crazy.
It is amazing, because you said earlier, I'm really shy. But the Lord has been so faithful to just bring you right out of that shell and to build your confidence and to speak up. Like you said, and I think having a voice is important. To see you have that and to see you fulfill your dreams is just awesome. It's epic.
It is epic.
Okay, so what's next?
So we are meeting on Monday nights. We have our pop-up sale, and this is cool. I sit on a committee for Habitat for Humanity's Restore, so we're actually going to do a collaboration with them and have a pop-up shop on Saturday, November 19th. Little plug there. No, I'm just kidding.
No, Saturday, November 19th.
And the cool thing with that is they have more leverage with doing publicity, so they'll be able to do a press release for us. And we'll just be able to have all of our product out in their shop, but then we'll be able to bring people into their shop too, so we'll help each other.
I love that. Okay, so when you guys are meeting on Monday, the friends are making
all of these cute Christmas ornaments, Christmas decorations. We've expanded to pillowcases, because everybody has these decorative pillows that they do. So now we're going to be doing pillows.
I love that so much. Okay, and so when do you meet? If there's somebody out there that has a special needs, kind of tell them the guidelines for who's invited to come, where do you meet, and what's expected?
Okay, so we meet Two Rivers Church in New Bern on Monday nights from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's open to anyone 16 or older living with developmental or intellectual disabilities. And I do start out every little meeting with these cute little rules that the kids made up, because I'm like, okay.
The kids made the rules?
Things that you would never think. And last year when I was teaching, things that you would never think that would come out of your mouth when you're working with kids. You're like, what did I just say?
So what are the rules?
Some of them are normal things, okay, we're not going to have our cell phones out. Because it just blew me away. They'd be sitting there texting. I'm like, Christmas ornaments, come on, you're at work. But saying bad words. Because we have one friend, and so now he's like, well, can I come back? And I'm like, yes, but you have to come back, but you have to tell 5 clean jokes next week. So then I ran into him downtown, and he said, I don't think I can come because I can't find clean jokes. And I was like, please come anyhow.
You should tell him that I'll help you find them.
But he told me some jokes, and I was like, I don't even understand them. But just I guess setting boundaries, and I guess just always reiterating what those are. And I want it to be a safe and respectful space for everyone.
Yeah.
So, but last week we were laughing so hard we were crying. So it's a special time for friendship, and I think it's neat. Like right now we have volunteers, but some of the moms are volunteers, and it's neat, I think, for the moms to see their kids having fun.
Yes. So do you have a need for volunteers?
We do. And if your calling isn't working with special needs, I need everything from people that can work with social media so that I don't have to be doing that every day, and fundraising, working with the public,
grant writing.
And I do have someone that's, as we said, God brings like those amazing people into your path when you need them, and so I have someone for that when we're ready. We have to increase our board by like 5 to 6 more members, so praying that God brings those right people to us.
That's key too.
Yeah.
You need to have a good, strong board.
Yep.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm proud of you. I remember the day that we were at church and you whispered, like, I want to start a tea company. And I'm like, look.
It's true. It was in church. It happened in church. Like, it's just crazy. Okay, so you've got, you meet on Monday nights at Two Rivers Church from 6 to 8. You have a need for volunteers.
Yes.
That anyone can come if they're got developmental
or intellectual
disabilities, and they need to be 16 years or older. And what's next after this?
Well, in 2023, I just want to continue meeting on those Monday nights or possibly a different night, because God has changed life. Once again, he's like, hey, look at this chessboard, and he's moved some pieces
We
around.
have to be flexible, though. We have to be flexible, don't we?
No, and it's cool to see, like, how you're bound by what you see. You're like, okay, I can only do it on this night. And then he kind of switches life up and says, okay, look, now you have these different days available.
It's his timing for sure.
It is. So 2023, I just want to get the name out there, find the funds,
What
find
is the
support.
name? I don't even think you've said it.
It's my big dream, because I want my big dream to be everyone's big dream. Like, it's a place where I dream that kids can be there and
Feel included.
yes.
And I love it. My big dream.
Yep. And then 2024 is when I really just want to, like, how do you say that? Push the pedal down and go forward and be like full-time, like 4 days a week, a full-time program for the kids, full-time day program.
I love it.
So.
Well, I pray special blessings over my big dream and over you and all the wonderful things that you're doing and over all of the friends. And I'm just so honored to know you and to have you as part of my life. And I love you dearly.
I love you, and thank you for all your help and support along the way. And I'm so excited to see this. And this. All this pink.
It's awesome.
It is.
Thanks for being here today.
Can I spill the tea?
Yes, you can. Let's drink it for
Okay.
sure. That's a wrap on Spilling the Tea. Stay tuned for our next podcast.